From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
A message from the President of Mexico. What he thinks about a U.S. trade complaint against his country over his energy policies, as farmers here at home fuel up and pay up.
Farmers are facing record high diesel fuel prices out here on the farm, and it's cutting into their profitability.
Higher prices all adding to the supply chain crunch.
We got to figure out a way to get these fuel prices back and get back to business.
The latest impact diesel prices are having on the road and in the fields right now on AgDay. Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. There's one thing pushing up the price of almost everything we buy right now. It's diesel. That's because nearly everything that's delivered, whether it's by truck, rail, or ship, uses diesel fuel. Plus, it powers most farm equipment. AAA reports the average national price for a gallon of diesel right now is $5.47 a gallon. Now, that's down from the record high set last month of $5.81 a gallon. So while we are seeing slight relief at the pump when it comes to regular gas prices, as Ryan Young reports, truck drivers continue to face a bumpy road ahead.
Just off I-80 in Iowa, it's hard to miss. Part festival, part convention, part job fair. It's the largest gathering of American truck drivers in the country. Drivers here telling us they are facing challenge after challenge, from loss of friends to COVID, to supply chain shortages, to higher and higher fuel prices, yet they continue to deliver for the American consumer.
It's been tough, especially now with the fuel prices the way they are.
Diesel prices have risen more than 50% so far this year.
You know, you can't expect the people to keep paying and paying and paying. They're going to run out of money eventually. Then what are you going to do?
Prices are going up across the board, and many truckers here said orders are getting canceled and demand is slowing. For some, the outlook for the next few months is grim.
I think there's a fear out there that is being placed. We got to figure out a way to get these fuel prices back and get back to business.
And the economic impact of these big rigs is tremendous. You think about almost 72% of all goods in this country are moved by truck, and that has a real ripple effect. You're talking about $12.7 trillion of goods moved throughout this country by truck alone.
I can't say I can blame one person for it all.
Bill Abbott owns a farm and travels across the country with his vintage truck to shows like this one. He believes change is needed.
It takes a leader that can grab the bull by the horns, but the economy is such now, we need a leader that's going to grab the bull by the balls. I've never seen anything like it. Before, I've used to my savings. I made money, we went on trips, and I didn't spend much. Now I'm spending a lot, and I'm losing back to all my savings.
There's also a can-do attitude that reverberates all around here.
Just keep right on going.
Terry and Adam Wurzer own a small company that makes products for semi-trucks, and they say there's no choice but to push through the tough times.
People, especially around here, they, just because times get tough, they still work hard and they still fight their way out of the hole and they keep going.
The Biden administration says it sees and hears the plight of truckers and is aware of the driver shortage. It plans to help make it easier for those wanting to get their commercial driver's license, while also hoping to address concerns ranging from poor road conditions to wait times at delivery points.
Ryan Young reporting. And while diesel fuel prices are off their summer peak, the high cost is still hitting hard at the farm level. AgDay's Michelle Rook takes us out to the country to see the impacts firsthand.
Clinton farmers I visited with this season say they've never seen diesel prices this high during their farming careers. It's costing them hundreds and even thousands of dollars to fuel their equipment. And we haven't even gotten to the time frame when demand is at its highest, and that's at harvest. South Dakota farmer Todd Hanton didn't feel the record diesel prices when he planted this spring because he had contracted fuel ahead. But with prices nearly doubling over last year, he's concerned about the big cost that's coming.
It's going to make a big difference in the fall. I'm sure that ticket's going to look a lot different when it comes in with today's prices versus what I've got it contracted at.
Iowa farmer Kevin Ross says he gets sticker shock every time he fills up his tractor.
Diesel fuel aspect, yeah, you're looking at double price as well, so at least, if not more. So just big prices, big numbers that you're paying with these bills.
Hanton is also a cattle producer, and the high fuel price makes it more expensive to haul a load of 35 steers to market.
The cost of shipping a load of steers from my place to Green Bay, Wisconsin, where some of them goes, is one whole steer at $2,000.
So both livestock and grain farmers like Tim Ostrom say it's cutting into their profits for 2022.
The cost of fuel to do these things has gone up considerably. So that's cut into the margin of what will look like it was going to be a really good year. Now it doesn't look quite as profitable.
And that's even with many farmers booking their fuel and other input needs ahead for 2022 and grain prices still at relatively high levels historically. Farmers also tell me they're even more concerned about high fuel and overall input prices for 2023. That's because of continued supply chain issues, and there's still a lot of geopolitical uncertainty surrounding these markets.
All right, thanks, Michelle. In Cuba, a growing diesel shortage has led to persistent blackouts and insanely long lines at the gas pumps. It takes days now for these drivers to fill their tanks, and people don't think about leaving the line even for a second. Drivers are sleeping in their cars and brushing their teeth by the side of the road. The country is being battered by the pandemic, U.S. sanctions, and a global supply chain disrupted by the war in Ukraine. Now, large parts of the communist-run island are being hit by longer power outages because keeping the lights on requires more fuel than the Cuban government has on hand. Analysts say the whole grid is in danger of collapsing.
You have a number of cumulative effects that are taking place that cannot be solved with Band-Aids. We're talking about major structural investments in the billions of dollars that's going to take a number of years to solve this problem.
By the way, people at the front of the lines waiting for diesel say they had been waiting for 8 days. Mexico's president has a message when it comes to a recent trade battle with the U.S. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador playing a song during a news conference called Uy que miedo, which translates to "Oh, how scary," meaning he was not scared at how it would play out. The U.S. Trade Representative is accusing his government of favoring its state-owned utility and oil company at the expense of American businesses. Now, the Mexican president going on to say he believes his country has done nothing wrong and that his policies do not violate the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement. He said he would answer U.S. complaints point by point. Now, Canada has said it will support the U.S. challenge. High heat isn't helping the drought situation right now. Meteorologist Matt Yurosavik joining us. And Matt, we're seeing drought expanding in several of the plain states.
Yeah, Clinton, that's right. And as we head through this week, things still getting pretty dry out there with all of this heat and humidity, especially through the middle part of the country. Taking a look at the drought monitor, you can really see where things have gotten a little bit worse. Northern parts of Texas into Oklahoma and western Kansas, and then back towards the Four Corners region, even farther back in places like Utah and the San Joaquin Valley, still extremely dry. But then you zoom in here on the Corn Belt, and yeah, it is still extremely dry, all the way from the Dakotas back through parts of the Great Lakes, and it's going to stay that way. You can still see, though, some excess water there, some very wet soil, parts of Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio. We're going to continue to see some of that, and some more rain is likely going to be on the way for those parts of the region, right through the Corn Belt. As we head over the next 10 days, you can see from western Pennsylvania all the way back into Missouri, it looks like a decent amount of rain, and then for parts of the Four Corners region as well, and that's something we'll continue to track for the next week or week and a half right here on Ag Day. And a great shot from Illinois, the northern Illinois sky view showing wheat harvest underway in the state. And it looks like things have just about wrapped up there when it comes to wheat, with USDA reporting 96% of the crop has been harvested. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
All right, thanks, Matt. Now, possible talk of relief from all that dryness is helping you move markets. We'll take a look at that coming up next. And later, what do you get when you combine something cheesy with a popular cocktail, a drink you have to see to believe in the country?
Ag Day is brought to you by the End Zone by Farm Shop MFG, which allows you to rehydrate your soybeans from 10 to 13%. On a 20,000 bushel bin, that's an extra semi-load added to your bottom line. Order your End Zone fan control by July 31st and receive $200 off. Registration is open for the 2022 Pro Farmer Crop Tour. Join our team as we gain insight on the 2022 growing season in person or online. Visit profarmercroptour.com/register to select the stop nearest you.
All of the major grains continue to run in the red. Michelle Rook is back to break down the latest from the markets.
Joining us with market analysis, Jim McCormick with AgMarket.net. A lower day in the grains, and a lot of the selling came late in the session on Thursday after there was news that this Ukraine export deal was going to be signed.
Exactly, Michelle. The deal is it's going to be signed. The hard part is we don't know what they're actually agreed to. It's really been a very kind of tight-lipped. It does look like, Putin saying, hey, he's going to allow the ships come out of the ports, maybe being, guided out of the ports by the Ukrainian military. But the reality is, what does that mean? Is Putin not going to stop bombing the ports? And then the other real question I think you're going to be is, can you get people willing to actually trade with that grain? More than likely, it's going to be stolen grain from the Ukrainians. And then lastly, just insuring those boats is going to be quite prohibitively expensive, or even get crews willing to go into a war zone. Yeah. So I think the market's pricing in maybe the best case scenario, all that grain's going to get out. And as we find out, maybe it's harder to get that grain out, that may help support the market a little bit down the line.
So the energy sector was down. The macroeconomic climate kind of gets us at times and causes more fund liquidation in these grains and a lot of the commodities, doesn't it?
Correct. The markets are all under pressure earlier in the day. The reality is the Fed's still fighting inflation. The inflation ratings are still pretty hot. They should calm down a little bit. Grain prices are quite a bit off their summer highs. Energies are off the highs. But as long as the Fed's talking about raising interest rates, that is going to be negative commodities. Europe raised their interest rates over, earlier this week, and that also put some pressure on it.
So July lows, we kind of took that area out in the November beans, but managed to close right about at that level, and corn still holding above it. But are those destined to be taken out on the charts?
Right now, unfortunately, I think the chart feels pretty heavy at this point in time. I think the chart guys are trying to defend it, Michelle, but the reality is you got rain in the forecast this upcoming week. The models are kind of moving around, but it does look like most dry areas will get a crack of some rain. Then you also have, like I said, that macro liquidation. So those two things, I think, unfortunately, argue that we're probably going to take out those lows.
Okay, thanks for joining us with that analysis. Jim McCormick with AgMarket.net. You can catch our full analysis at agweb.com. We'll have more Ag Day coming up.
To contact Jim McCormick at Ag Market, call 844-4AG-MARKET or visit their website at www.agmarket.net. Your next piece of equipment is on MachineryPete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on MachineryPete.com.
Meteorologist Matt Yarosavik joining us here, taking a look at our national forecast. And Matt, we start with the jet stream here, hoping to see maybe a ridge or some dips, trying to bring some cooler weather into this country. What do you think?
Yeah,
and it's summer. I understand it's supposed to be hot.
It is supposed to be hot, but as we head towards the end of this coming week, a little bit of cooler air coming into the northern Great Lakes. Other than that, though, it stays pretty hot and dry through most of the country. And you can really see the ridge back there in the west, bringing all that heat and a little humidity to the middle part of the country. And that's been much of the case over the last couple of weeks, and it's not going to change as we head through Friday. Even into the weekend, notice all these very dark red colors down here to the south. The heat, the humidity, it's sticking around. Northern Great Lakes, upper Midwest, maybe a little bit of a break there and some chances for some rain, especially coming into the weekend. But notice where that little dip in the jet stream goes, retreats right back up into Canada, keeps the heat and humidity locked in as we head through much of next week. You do see a little bit of a dip, though, coming in as we head towards the second half of next week. Maybe a little bit of relief from heat and humidity, northern Great Lakes, parts of the Midwest, and then could be looking at more chances of rain for the second half of next week as well. Temperatures, though, still extremely warm, hot and humid across the middle of the country and across the Gulf Coast. Hot and dry back in the southwest. 116 in Phoenix later today, 104 in Tulsa, and hitting around 99 in Richmond. Still staying very, very humid. That means that these temperatures will be in the 70s and 80s as we head through tomorrow morning. right back up into the 90s and triple digits with kind of that bullseye with all that heat back in Oklahoma, Kansas, and parts of Nebraska as well. So extremely warm right through the middle part of the country. And if you look back in the Southwest, this is a dry heat, but still not a lot of humidity back there, but still Yuma 114, Phoenix 115. Yeah, it's going to be hot back in the South and West, and not much in the way of sky cover at all. Full sunshine back there with high pressure in control. See those pop-up showers and storms across much of the west. Same thing with the south and east as a system moves through there, and then another little system coming through parts of the upper Midwest there, parts of the Great Lakes, bringing some more chances for showers and thunderstorms, keeping any severe threat well up to the north. And you can see not a lot of precipitation except for in the southeast over the next few days, but more will be likely next week, and we'll track it right here on Ag Day. That's a look around the country. Now let's take a look at the weather where you live. Laverne, Alabama, scattered thunderstorms, a high near 87 degrees, 99 in Wall, South Dakota, hot and humid, and then back in Yuma, Arizona, 114 degrees with an excessive heat warning.
For cattle producers that have been dealing with rain, and we know that's not everyone, mud can be a big challenge in the summer. Some advice on keeping cattle feeding areas clean and the benefits from Kansas State Research and Extension.
Today I'd like to visit with you a topic for our cattle producers on the care and maintenance of the pen surfaces of our feedlot or backgrounding units. One of the things that when we run into in rainfall situations, especially like we've had in parts this summer, is that pens can start to accumulate additional mud that we're normally not accustomed to during the summer months. One of the practices that we would like to do is once the pens become drier is to get in and clean and reshape those pens so we have the best drainage possible, so we minimize mud production for our feedlot and backgrounding operations. One of the rules of thumb to always remember is for every time that you move up on the leg of a steer or heifer, such as there's mud up to the dew claw level, we lose about 7% of gain. As the mud accumulates to the shin level, it's another 7%. If it reaches the hock, it's another 7% loss of gain in feed efficiency. So this is not only an animal care standpoint of providing them with a dry place to lay and have an environment, but it costs us in performance as well. One of the reasons that we want to clean and groom these pens also is not only to remove the mud, but it also removes the amount of bacteria and potential pathogens that we could pass group to group. Particularly if we have empty pens during the summer months preparing for fall weaning, we want those pens to be cleaned now in the middle of summer at least, so those pens have time to dry and we provide those new weaned calves a more sterile environment. Now, such in the picture where we're at today is where we're actually feeding cattle during the summer, cleaning those pens in spring, and then coming back again in summer, especially after these rainfall events, is important to remove that accumulated manure and potential mud. So we want to be mindful of cleaning these facilities, particularly to provide a more sterile environment so we don't pass pathogens and bacteria from group to group, as well as decrease the overall amount of fly production that can happen both from our cow-calf sector in our winter feeding areas, as well as in a typical feedlot or backgrounding operation, because the wasted feed, the manure, and moisture provide a perfect breeding ground for fly production, which we know will also decrease performance in these settings as well.
Coming up, something that's pretty cheesy. The question is, are you willing to give it a try? The latest odd product from Velveeta, next.
Registration is open for the 2022 Pro Farmer Crop Tour. Join our team as we gain insight on the 2022 growing season in person or online. Visit profarmercroptour.com/register to select the stop nearest you.
If you're the person who likes to have cheese on everything you eat, well, this may be for you. It's called the Veltini, and it's a new take on the classic martini made with Velveeta infused vodka. Yes, There apparently is such a thing. Then it's mixed with olive brine and vermouth, and why not garnish it with Velveeta stuffed olives and jumbo shells? You can get this drink, yep, they're calling it that, at select BLT steakhouses. Now it'll cost you $15. But if you can't get to the restaurant but still want to live La Dolce Velveeta, it's also selling a limited number of kits so you can try it at home for just $50. No details of whether it's better shaken or stirred. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day out in fun.